welcome to the yet to be named Magic the Gathering podcast with myself, Alex from ReallyPrettyMTG, and Dom, aka the Dominator MTG. How you doing, my friend? You doing well?
Doing well, thanks. Yeah, welcome to the pod, everyone.
Yes, everyone, welcome to the pod. We're doing another video version of this for. We just thought we'd do one, just me and Dom. We couldn't actually meet in person to this one, unfortunately. My travelling schedule, which always gets in the way, unfortunately. So we thought we had an hour or so to spend. We thought we'll do this. But anyway, how's Magic been for you? What have you been up to recently, mate?
Most recently, I actually took a trip down to. I want to say Braintree, but it's not Braintree, is it? It's
Chelmsford.
Chelmsford.
It's because I kept saying Braintree, wasn't
because
it?
you kept getting it wrong on the day.
Of course.
That's in my head now. But yeah, it was the Artoria Guild event in the Geek Retreat there, which was a really good laugh. It was I had quite a lot of games, and met everyone for the first time for me.
Yep.
A really welcoming set of people, really.
Yeah, I've known the guys for a while now. I've been to a couple of their other events. I've done some other local sort of. We've gone down to another LGS shuffle in Bury St Edmunds, and we've played games and whatnot. I've had lots of interactions with them. They're fantastic guys. It's really well run guild. They're really friendly, nice. I mean, I love interacting with them, and I knew you'd enjoy the event. But that was a really good day, and it's nice to get down there, sort of thing. Do you have a particular moment or particular play there that you particularly remember that you want to bring up of note?
There was in the first game. It's like I was looking around at everyone's commands, thinking, "Oh, these are quite high power. Going to have like a Marrow Nora was in there, so you're going to have infinite rats at some point." So I thought, well,
oh god, yeah, that one.
I'd better bust out Italy. So I was playing my Italy deck, which is
spicy,
quite feared in my local play group.
Yeah.
But so I played that, and I had a turn where I played Italy, and I managed to cast a Delina off the top, and then
right.
someone killed Italy. Okay, fair enough. I replayed it, and then off the top of my library, I hit an Insurrection. Oh. So I stole everyone's creatures, untapped them, and then you get to control them for that turn. And then I went to combat, and I made 3 more copies of Italy with Delana because I managed to roll 15 twice in a row. So I got 2 more copies of Italy that I got to keep, and then 1 temporary one as well, and cast another 12 cards off the top of everyone's libraries. So we're supposed to be friendly and make friends at these events, don't you? Unfortunately, my library hadn't got the message there and just delivered that little series of events. So
wow.
But yeah, that was a hilarious turn of events, and no one had a board wipe, so the game was basically over at that point. But later in the day, when they were giving out the prizes, that was I actually got a few promos for that stunning display of depravity. So. That
was well deserved. Yeah, absolute grot. It really was. Very good indeed.
What about you? You were trying out one of your newer decks, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I had a couple of decks. I had quite a few decks with me, but the one I was trying is I've just cobbled together, and I literally mean cobbled together the recent Mole God from Murders of Markov Manor, and
that did me up like a kipper at pre-release. I'll tell you that. An 8/4 that gets the combat step was absolutely brutal in a 20 health format. Was
So I spoke to someone about that very card last night, and that's exactly what he said. He said when it comes to pre-release, he says they cast it, and unless you've got spot removal right there and then, you're in massive trouble, like humongous trouble. Particularly when you've only got 20 life compared to Commander. But I was playing that for the first time, and you'll be happy to know I didn't get mana screwed.
Yeah, excellent work. All my trainings, taking a route.
Yeah, that's a really pretty MTG trait that is, of getting mana screwed because I'm greedy on my lands and my decks. But anyway, no, that did happen, but I had a very aggressive start. I had an opening hand. What did I have? Jeweled Lotus. I had untapped land and some other bits and bobs, some nice ramp stuff. So straight off the bat, I was like, Mole God, turn 1. And they were all like, oh.
Oh, no.
They're like, oh.
Turn 1 is just...
It gets worse. I can assure you. Yeah. so what did we then have next? So I basically, or did I have it in my opening hand? Do you know what? No, I'm going to tell a lie. I didn't. I must have drew it either turn 2 or turn 3 or something like that, because I'd ramped a little bit by this point. But I played the Jeweled Lotus and I played the Mole. That's what it was. I then played the Mole untapped after it had gone round. I played a Questing Beast with the Mole untapped, ready to rock and roll. And I went to combat like you do.
Yeah. So damage can't be prevented.
Yeah. And it just was it went wild. So I had Sam sitting to the right of me, and I'd give him a couple of little tickles up with it. Actually, maybe I've got that right. Anyway, that was the gist of what was going on. I can't remember exactly what it was. But one of the guys just kept blocking stuff. I was like, are you sure? And he's just like, yeah. So he'd got a vampire that when it dies at the beginning of the end step, the dead vampires come back to the battlefield.
Okay, yeah, so it's using it to their advantage.
Yeah, but the problem was because I was swinging either the Mole or the Questing Beast at him, and then the guy that was in front of me was then getting all the alternatives. So I was like just swapping them over. So the guy in front of me was like, I can't block that. Like if I block, I can't block that. And I think even at one point he turned to Joseph, was like, can you not block? Can you stop blocking this? Anyway, so like they then spent the next turn getting rid of it, and it gets worse. I then got what's the Zendikar flip land that gets stuff out of the graveyard? Is it Balaket Recovery?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So they finally killed it, spot removaled it. So I dragged it from the graveyard with Balaket Recovery. I then played, I can't remember the land, but it is it's part of the 2-piece that make the big creature. But you can spend 1 red and tap it to give creatures haste. So straight back into it again. Yeah. So straight back into it next turn. And in the following turn, no, it's that turn. I then Reckless Assaulted as well. So it's like, oh, I'll have an extra combat step. It was just
disgusting.
It was vile, but it was very entertaining at the same time. So yeah, that was it. Also, just on a quick random side note as well, because I know you love my Azorius decks, got a nice W from one of my new August Prof deck. Yeah, go on, get out of here. I'll give you thumbs down. I just loved it. It's fantastic. The problem is, it's just, I don't know. It done what the deck does is I sit in the corner, I build myself up, everyone's doing their stuff. You know, they're like, what helped is I was accruing quite a few treasures, and I played an Urza Lord Hierarchfusser, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm just tapping the stuff for blue mana now. So
that card's always a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alquist, he has Sphinx's Revelation just pinned onto him, doesn't he? So you can just pay X and like double white and blue, is it? And then
it's double blue and white X, and it is you sacrifice a clue, and then you draw X and gain X life. So which was great, because I'd just be like, you know, in the end step before me, I'd just be like, well, Sphinx's Rev here for 2 or 3, and you know, I'm going to tap all these clues. Oh, but as I'm doing this, I'm accruing more clues, so it just built and built and built and built. But yeah, chef's kiss that was.
I'll look forward to playing against it.
We'll see. The problem is, I know what you're like. You know, to be fair, I'm amazed they left Urza on the board. I really am. Like, but it's what it is.
Sometimes you just don't have that one piece removal that's needed, do you?
No, it sometimes it does just work like that. But anyway, okay. So today's subject, big subject here. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and when discussing what we're going to do tonight, it was pretty much the top of the list of what we want to do. Tonight, we're going to talk about Universes Beyond and what we've seen in the past, what we are currently seeing, what we're seeing in the future, and we may even sort of dabble and see what we'd like to see. But So, Universes Beyond. I've got a nice little piece up here earlier. So, Universes Beyond are basically intellectual properties from outside of Wizards that have brought their IP in and put them into our card games. So, on one of the websites, Wizards explain it to us. Wizards described Universes Beyond as a combination of Magic's gameplay with worlds, stories, characters, cherished by millions. This means bringing other franchises and works into Magic. So, do you know what I mean? You're taking, we'll get into the nuts and bolts earlier, but you'll grab, from Lord of the Rings, or you'll grab from Transformers and things like that, and you are making Magic cards out of them. And so that's a kind of a summary of it. Let's go back to the beginning. So let's have a little chat about when they first announced this. So the first one was a secret lair. It was the Walking Dead secret lair. And I don't know if you remember, Dom, but the internet done what the internet does best, which is explode. Old man shouts at cloud. People, predicting, the death of Magic the Gathering and all this sort of stuff. But what were your thoughts on it? What did you think about it? And how's that view sort of changed a little bit, after you saw the products first of all?
I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead. I've watched all 11 seasons of the original show. Mm-hmm. But I didn't order this one. I was thinking, I didn't really like the fact that it was unique cards in a secret lair, so I didn't kind of want to encourage that at the time.
Yep.
And obviously, as a result of the backlash initially, Wizards then kind of backpedaled a little bit and said, we'll be doing Universes Within, so we will reprint these cards with their own Magic version so that you can acquire them without having to play Rick in your Legacy deck.
Let's come to that in a minute. I want to come on to that, but let's try and steer clear. We'll explain what happened there in a minute, but let's talk about it. So you sort of said obviously there was this incredibly large backlash, and I kind of get it, I kind of understand it, but so did you have a tipping point? Did you have a point when you thought, okay, this is fine, or once you start to see them, because I'll come to me in there, but go on, Karen.
It was Walking Dead. I was almost the target market for that. If they'd released it now, I would have picked it up definitely.
Yeah.
But because it was the first one, I was just very, very apprehensive about it.
Yeah.
But when it started, when they announced the Lord of the Rings, that was huge. And they've done a few IPs recently that I've been really into, and I think, from my point of view, they've proven that they can create a good Magic set with someone else's IP that fits well into the game and also provides an experience to those people who enjoy that setting as well. Okay.
I fundamentally agree with everything you just sort of said, but I think we will unpick this as we come along, because it's funny. I found it quite weird how the stages come across with things. So we'll go through some of the Universes Beyond and we'll sort of discuss this. But from my perspective, when I first saw them, I was the same as you. I mean, look, I really enjoyed The Walking Dead. I've watched, I'd say, about 80%, 85% of The Walking Dead. There was a point I just was a bit like, I'm kind of done with it, really. But I have been since informed that I need to watch the last season because it's, ties things up a little bit and it's enjoyable. So I do need to watch that again.
I'd say watch it.
Yeah. But I did really kind of like that sort of that whole idea of it's nice to have characters from outside of Magic in it. Now, I had some reservations at first, I'm going to be honest with you, because... And I've heard this argument, which is, at what point do we stop? I'm gonna tap my Rick Grimes to crew my X Fighter or my TIE Fighter that's then going to go in and it has a fight ability and it's going to, attack your Pikachu or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And I understand all of that, and I really do. And at first, I was a little concerned as well, because my concern come from where do we stop and how are they going to do this? This was their first dabble into it. I think we were all watching maybe nervously, but actually I think their biggest problem for me and after the set was I like the cards. I did order the Secret Lair, and I have enjoyed them, particularly Rick. Ooh, Rick. Ooh, wow.
Very powerful card.
Very powerful card.
Legacy players, legacy humans.
And I think this is the problem. The issue that they had really is that it was released as a Secret Lair, and if you didn't get it, basically the only way you're going to get it is paying through the teeth for it, which is it's not really how I think we should do that. We'll come on to how they resolve that in a minute. But so I was a little worried about that, because all of a sudden, is Universes Beyond they're going to basically become the sets of FOMO? You know, the fear that you miss out. Oh, I didn't get them this time, and there could be the really busted card that, you know, everyone's playing or whatever. Or are people just literally going to order 4 of this Secret Lair just so they've got the, you know, the play sets of your Ricks and your whatevers and that sort of stuff? I think in truth, once they released it, and it took a bit of time, probably a bit longer than they should have, but I think they acknowledged that they'd made a little bit of a mistake. Now, I just want to go back a step, because what I think they probably should have done, and I ultimately think they should do moving forward, is do what they've done with the Ikoria cards, which is they're basically, the terminology has just gone from my head.
So these are reskinned versions.
Yeah. So I think actually, if they wanted to introduce, and this was my point at the beginning as well, if they wanted to do like a Universes Beyond, but basically there is a Secret Lair version that you want to go buy, you know, I'm going to go get my Rick the Steadfast, blah, 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 blah. But in the set that it's accompanying with, you can get a normal version of it. Like, I didn't have an issue with it at all. I think my initial skepticism, my initial problem is the only place you can get this is from Secret Lair. And that's where I initially had the issues.
Speaking of Ikoria, I've got my little T-shirt on here. For those who are listening, it's a little dinosaur beast.
I do like that. Yeah, I'm always a big fan of that one.
But yeah, I think, Ikoria, so those who don't know, it was the Godzilla cards, and they were kind of styled after the main kind of beasts and characters from that set.
Because they're not, they're not Universes Beyond. Although we all know them as Godzilla, they're not actually Universes Beyond, and they're not actually Godzilla, are they? Obviously for trademark reasons, but
yeah, they have the name of the actual Magic card kind of slightly underneath.
And actually,
the alternate text. So they've done that.
Yeah,
since then as well.
Yeah, exactly. They've done it a number of times, like with the vampires one you were talking about earlier. You know, your come on, brain, engage.
The Dracula card.
Exactly. Which again, I think. Look, personally, I think they should do it like that. But you know, obviously, that's either here or there. There's probably a reason why they've not done it, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that neither. Once they addressed that, and they did address it. It took a while, but they did address it. And what they effectively said, for anyone that doesn't know, is they said I can't remember what set it was, but basically they said, we will reprint these cards in a non-Walking Dead fashion. So you've got all the cards that came through, and I'm just trying to pull them up now. So what you have, they're basically exactly the same card. They've just got different art styles and different names, but they are effectively the same cards. So, look.
Yeah, so you can't have your 4 Ricks and 4 Greymons, which is his Universe Beyond. You can only have 4.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point to make.
They've got the same collector number is the primary thing.
That's it. Yeah, I was literally about to say that there was something like that. That's exactly what it was. God, can you imagine 8 Rick Grimes? Spicy.
He's legendary, isn't
he? He is, but you know, you've then still got to have 8 pieces of removal to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So look, I think we can sort of agree. I think there was a bit of we were all a bit skeptical about it at first, and it did take time, and the printing did take time as well. I mean, we always have to remember that just because they acknowledge something right here, right now, doesn't mean it's going to be in our next set. That they have printing schedules. They are designing cards 2 years, probably 2 years plus ahead of us. So there's always going to be delays, which is fine. I don't have a problem with. But at least they acknowledged it, and at least they then, we eventually got a plan and all that sort of stuff, sort of thing. So that was the start. really, wasn't it?
I think, yeah, obviously there was a time delay for the Walking Dead ones was the biggest delay because, I mean, obviously we haven't read that contract, but they might have had a thing that says, well, we won't print these cards again because, that might have been part of the contract.
I think this is something that's interesting, and we'll quickly chat about now why we've brought this up, because nobody outside of Wizards will know what these contracts say. There could have been a contract that the contracts may have been stating we will do a run of secret lairs and secret lairs only. So, and they may then have a cooldown period where they say you can't have any meaningful type of reprint related to this card for 12 to 18 months or something. Like, we just don't know. But I think it's important to note that yes, it took time, but they resolved the problem, because I don't think there's no point in hitting them with the stick of sort of saying, well, you done this, you done this, you done this. At least they resolved the problem. And it had the desired effect. Rick dropped in price and it was more accessible to people, which ultimately has got to be, obviously it's got to be a good thing really about it, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, as someone who opened a little Greymond from the list, I'm happy that they did get an in-universe, because I missed the Secret Lair when it first came out. So.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, like, for me, I play Rick in a couple of my decks, but particularly my Winota deck, and it's chef's kiss. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. So I was lucky enough that I did manage to get a second copy of Rick Grimes, but I then pulled one from the set it was in as well. So I was like, well, I'm pretty happy with that. Actually, weirdly enough, I don't know if I used the third one, but pretty much anything that plays humans, like, that card is almost an auto include because it is that good. It's just incredible.
It was very powerful. I think obviously some of the Walking Dead cards are below par, I would say, but
yeah,
obviously when you've got one that powerful that that you'll need 4 of for your legacy deck, that's where it becomes a problem if you've missed the window.
Well, the problem is particularly when you've got meta decks that are running 4 of those type of cards, they are already in a reduced print because of Secret Lair. If you're then making it popular and people are doing 4 ofs in Legacy, I mean, that price is just going to shoot through the roof. You've got a shortage of stock anyway, and you've got it involved in a big meta deck. I mean, that is just going to, well, it did. The prices just absolutely went through the roof. They went sky high, Yeah. It is supply and demand, unfortunately. But I know I sound like an old record here. I want to bring back that they did do right, and at least they did. And they've learned from this, or I feel like they've learned from this, which is, I mean...
I think it was a problem initially that's now been solved, and whilst there might be a slight delay... And obviously the universe, it's for limited print run products. So, obviously the main universe beyond sets and things is another thing. Obviously... you won't get universes within for all the Lord of the Rings cards. But, for example. But obviously these limited run secret lairs, that in a few months you'll be able to pick up the regular version if that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if that becomes the model, and it seems like that's the model they may go forward to, I'm happy with that. If there is a delay, like you've got to wait 12 months, but eventually comes out, there's not that restriction. There's a restriction is time, but at least it will then be available. So the next one that came in afterwards, which actually I was pretty excited about was the Stranger Things ones. Again, it was another Secret Lair. But yet again, they've then reprinted these into another set, which again, I think they learned. I feel like they learned their lesson by this point. Obviously it didn't come straight away. It wasn't. It wasn't within a matter of weeks and months, but I feel like that set the tone for it, and I feel like particularly for the Secret Lairs ones, that is now going to be the tone. So, like I said, at least they learned that lesson.
I think they're a lot more careful with the power of the designs as well.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those cards that I'm aware of see much play outside of Commander.
No, which I think is a shame, but also is fine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The problem is like, I think it's very easy to sweep people's ideas of, I don't want to be swinging my Luke Skywalker at, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think it's really easy to put those sort of opinions to one side and be like, oh, well, they're just old men screaming at clouds. Like, I get it. I understand it. We're here to play Magic the Gathering, not Star Wars. There's a Star Wars trading card game that you can play if that's what you want to do. I don't have a problem with the crossover, and particularly in Commander, like I have no issues with that. Like, it's funny how they were talking about early examples about how people would be like, have you got any universes beyond in those decks? Yes, I don't want to play it. Like, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I don't mean to be funny. Like, it's just crazy. It really is.
Yeah, I know. Similar to actually when they did the Infinity with the black border cards on it. Obviously, if you had some silver border cards in your deck, you have to ask, because they're not legal.
That's fair.
And yeah, they were saying, okay, that you could just do that with Universe Bond. But I think it's so integral to the product line now that, I've never had anyone ask me that.
I know, well, neither have I. That's the funny thing. Yeah. But isn't that classic internet? Everything explodes into this massive issue. And then actually when it comes down to the crunch, it's like I said, I've never been asked it. I've never had anybody really make too many comments about it. I think the worst I've had is someone sort of say, I think someone jokingly sort of said, I'm thinking of making about a full universes beyond deck sort of thing. And it's like, sure, by all means. But I don't think that's a negative. I think that's a positive. Do you know what I mean? But it's how you deal with it. So what did we have after that? We then had some more Secret Lairs. So we had Arcane. So look, full disclosure.
Oh, maybe.
So I didn't know a massive amount about Arcane. I did order it because it had a beautiful heuristic study in it, and it had some other really nice cards in it. Like some of the cards were absolutely fantastic.
Have you watched it?
No.
You don't need to know anything about League of Legends to watch the show at all, because that is obviously what it's based on. But I'm begging you to watch this.
Okay.
It's honestly one of the best shows I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have heard incredible things about it because they got it so right is my understanding about it. I know there's a lot of times where people take property and they work with it. They've been threatening a Magic the Gathering series for a long time that do you know what I mean? There's always sort of talk about it.
I'm not sure whether that will materialise, yeah.
I don't think so. I honestly, I'll be honest with you, I can't honestly believe that a big company or any film company is going to want to spend the budget on something that, I mean, like, I love this game and I love our community, but can you surely they're going to make a loss. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things. They're not going to hit the numbers they need to continue to show it on a Netflix, a Disney Plus, or whatever it's going to be. So surely it's going to be one of those things that you see it for a week and then it probably disappears into the ether. Like,
I think you need the right set of creatives that are going to bring your vision to life in a way that can appeal to the masses. I think Arcane did that perfectly.
Okay.
And obviously they were working on it for more than 6 years, I think.
It's a long time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just proved it's like similar to recently with Baldur's Gate 3. If you take, put the time in, you will end up with a product that far surpasses what you're going to imagine. But
yeah,
you need to be willing to make that investment.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come on to Baldur's Gate 3 because that ties into another really one nice later on. So the next one, I will check out Arcane, by the way. Like, I will get to it because you're not the only person that said that I should watch it. I don't know why I haven't, but it's over here and there. So the next one after that, what I've got on my list is the Street Fighters. Now, I don't know about you, Dom, but I grew up with the OG Street Fighter, and I was very.
I ordered this day one.
Yeah,
day one.
I ordered it pretty sharp as well. For me, this was probably the first nostalgic Universes Beyond for me. The first one that really was like, oh yeah, and I really like them. They're good. There's some good cards in them as well. But I think they're a good power level without them being like, they're not like Rick Grimes. Do you know what I mean?
I think they definitely seem more designed for Commander. And some of them are really, really interesting, unique in how they've been designed. But yeah, having something that you've loved, like you say, the nostalgia effect. I was playing Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on my Mega Drive 2.
Yep.
Oh, those were the days.
Yeah.
And actually to be able to get these characters as a Magic cards, just brilliant.
I think, I'll be honest with you, I think this was, for me, although I enjoyed the other ones and I bought the other ones, I think this is the point where I started to go, do you know what? I can get a bit on board with this. I will tell you the point when I was really on board with it. which is coming in a minute, or in a couple of minutes. But this was the first time when I kind of got it. It was that nostalgic pull that really pulled me in and went, do you know what? Yeah, I'm on board with this one, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I really do. I've got them, well, a couple in a deck and binders and that sort of stuff. But
I think if you were against it before, as soon as they hit a property that you're in love with,
yep,
you're going to want to acquire those cards.
So this brings me really nicely onto a property that I really don't like, which is the next one, which was the Fortnite Secret Lair.
Oh.
And
I've never actually played it, and it's for a different generation, probably. I would say. Look, you're an old man. It's for the kids.
Both statements probably very true.
It is branching out. You got I'd quite like to try the Lego Fortnite. Have you heard about that? So it's like like a Fortnite world, but you build with Lego bricks, which is.
I mean, look. I've played a few of the Lego games, like the Batman one, and they had some other bits and bobs like that. I think they've done a Harry Potter one as well. They're all very enjoyable, like all very good games, and they've just got a unique cheekiness to it that the Lego franchise used to have. So I get that 100%, but. Yeah, Fortnite. For this one was definitely. If Street Fighter was the one that really made me go, yeah, I'm starting to get into this. Fortnite was the one that made me learn the lesson of I have no interest in these cards. I have no interest in these arts, so I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, I think notably the Fortnite cards were reskins.
Yes.
So they weren't unique cards that if you hated Fortnite, you weren't going to, these cards already exist.
Yeah.
You can use the regular versions already.
Well,
so in that regard, it was probably fine.
Well, so Arcane,
you could just skip it, right?
Arcane was, I think, the first one of the Universes Beyond that was basically a reskin. I sort of said it earlier. Yeah. We had a Ristic Study, and you had Relentless Assault, and some other bits and bobs. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. So this was obviously, and I think this was the lesson that was learnt off The Walking Dead, if I'm honest with you, because I think they realised what happened. These were already in the process, and I think they tweaked the design to accommodate. So the difference between The Walking Dead and the Arcane looks roughly about a year-ish. I'm going to say a year-ish because I've just got years in front of me, not dates. But
I'm desperately hoping that if they do another set for Arcane Series 2, that we'll actually get some of the characters as legendary unique cards.
Yeah.
Because it was just screenshots from the series for this one as obviously Magic cards. Yeah. Actually, the characters are also unique with, good design.
No, that'd be good. I 100% appreciate that. I really do. So I felt like I think we're probably in the same boat as this. The Fortnite was the one that we're a bit like, this does nothing for me, and because of that,
it's like, did you order it? No. So there you go.
Do you know the hilarious thing is actually, I can't remember if it was you who were talking about when we were at the event or something like that. I have never seen one of those in the wild. I've seen a lot of Secret Lair. I've never seen a Fortnite card in the wild.
I honestly can't remember which cards it was. So I'm sure it's probably cards that see play somewhere, almost certainly, but maybe not in.
I feel like there's a board wipe. Was it a board wipe or land destruction card? I can't quite remember. Either way, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I think, to be quite honest, for us anyway, that just tells you everything you need to know about it, that we just weren't interested, really. Okay, so the next one I want to bring up, I know we've had lots of conversations about this. This definitely ticks nostalgia for me. I know you still play this. I wish I was playing it. It's the Warhammer 40k Commander Precons. Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, this was the first iteration of Universes Beyond that introduced precons. Now, let's straight off the bat, these were fantastic, in my opinion. These were phenomenal. This was the first taster, in all honesty, that I think that we can give an intellectual property to Wizards, and they will do something good of it. We'll dissect it a little bit more, but for me, the decks, I mean, I've got all the decks. I've got them all in the Surge Foil. First of all, I love the Surge Foiling. It's unfortunate about the Pringling, but it is what it is. What I've there's lots I love about this. So I love the cards. I love the art. I love the flavor text. I love that even the basic lands have got new art to them. They are all within the Warhammer 40k universe. For me, they didn't just smash out of the park. They smashed it out of the country, man. Like, this was absolute. Until we get to something later, for me at this moment in time, this was Universes Beyond for peak. And I was like, I'm all over this. If you do this for intellectual properties that I'm interested in, we're gonna, I'm gonna be investing a lot into this, basically.
Yeah, I think like most precons come with these Commander precons, of course, come with like 10 to 15 new cards, don't they? And these came with about 40 new cards in each deck. And it really crystallized that they were putting a lot of effort into their card design. They understood the property they were working with. Obviously, they had consultants as well, but hats off to the designers, because they just achieved greatness with these decks.
They were honestly phenomenal. Like, so look, I played 40k when I was a kid with my brother. Very loose rules, but we played it. I absolutely loved it. I've listened to a lot of the Black Library, a lot of the books. Thoroughly enjoy them. I like the lore of the Warhammer 40k. So this is a product that is aimed for both you and I. Like, this is a product.
Yeah.
So of course we're going to like it. And I'm sure there are people out there that, for Warhammer 40k is not my thing. But I think anyone can agree that if you was to take anything, it doesn't matter whether it's Paddington Bear or, Fast and the Furious, if you was to take that and make it into a precon that was anything like these cards or these precons, I mean, I can't. Other than the surge foiling of being Pringled, honestly, I don't think I can give a bad word about these precons. I think they are very well balanced as well.
As a 4, they play well together.
So that's why I got 4, and I've kept them
internal balance. I think is the
I've kept my 4 unchanged. They are straight out of the box, sleeved, of course. But do you know what I mean? They are ready to rock and roll. And the whole idea is that if say, like, if yourself and say a couple of friends of ours that I know that play 40k, and if they wanted to be like, I'd be like, bang, choose a deck, we'll 40k it up. So I've kept it intact purposely for that. And I can't say enough good things about this product. I absolutely loved it.
The only complaint I have is the complaint that everyone has about every precon, which is the mana base could have been slightly better.
You know what? Honestly,
that's a very weak point, though.
I can overlook all of that. I felt like they'd done it so well. Like the Swords to Plowshares. Oh my god! Like, actually, I say that Swords to that was the one with the Imperial tank.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a field of corn with the Lehman Russ.
That's right. Yeah. It's just so.
It's been converted into a tractor.
It's so good. Like that's clearly a team that have worked hard on that to bring that all together.
The fluff text on that one is brilliant. That card is brilliant as well. Look at that. Seek it out.
The flavor text on a lot of it. I mean, if you guys have been listening long enough, I love a bit of flavor text, but on there's some incredible flavor text. I really, honestly, this is the one that I really felt like they swung at this. They did also do some Secret Lairs drops as well. So the Commander precons were Imperium, Chaos, Necrons, and Tyranids.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I was surprised at, and maybe it's because they obviously wanted to cross over with like modern races, but I'm amazed they didn't have orcs. I was shocked almost.
Yeah. At the time, obviously, they'd announced that there was going to be Secret Lairs alongside this product, but we didn't know what they were. And one of them is, Secret Lair orcs.
Yeah.
Now, everyone was speculating because I think at this point we'd had the coin flip deck.
Yes.
As a Secret Lair.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right.
So there's a lot of speculation and rumours that the Orcs Secret Lair was going to be a complete deck, to round another precon deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. Orcs, they're one of the funniest, those who don't know Warhammer 40k, they're made of fungus and they just exist to make war, but it's kind of there's a fun aspect to them.
I love the fact that they can cobble basically any item together, and they believe so wholeheartedly that it's gonna fly, that it will fly. It doesn't function.
Yeah.
It looks like a helicopter, but it is cobbled scrap. But they believe so. I can't remember. Is it Mork or is it Gork?
It's Gork are their gods, and if they believe something enough, obviously they manifest that psychic power so well. So I think in one of the old Warhammer 40,000 rulebooks, an example, and they've captured an orc and they've got his weaponry, and it doesn't work. They pull the trigger, nothing happens. There's no ammo in it. It's just a lump of solid metal. It shouldn't. There's no chemicals. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
And they give it to the orc, and he starts shooting it because he thinks it's a gun that works. Yeah. So it does. It's like
the 40k universe is wild. It really is. And personally, as well, I would have loved. They're not called Elder now, are they? They're called something else, but
the Eldari.
Eldari. Yeah, that's right. So for me. I mean, the Imperium one was Space Marines Imperial Guard. That's pretty classic. Chaos.
They definitely could have expanded the Imperial one because they mashed a lot of armies into one there. They could have split them off. They could have had like a dedicated Space Marine deck, I think.
I mean, in truth, they could have done that with a lot of them because they could have had an Imperial Guard one. They could have had a Custodes one. They could have had, they could have had all sorts. And even within the Imperial Guard, you had Guardsmen, you had the what are the Jungle Fighters? Catian Jungle Fighters.
On the tokens actually are represented quite well of all the different Imperial Guard units.
Yeah, exactly.
I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised they didn't do a Sisters of Battle deck. The
problem is I suppose it's really difficult. So we're thinking from an aspect of because we like the 40k universe, whereas how do you put that down to 4 decks? I purely believe they had Necrons because they wanted a more modern army. I mean, they're obviously they're not exactly going to whack squats in there, are they? But do you know what I mean? They're going to have Necrons. And that's
they have returned now.
Well, they have returned now, yeah, which is hilarious. But yeah, anyway, so they done a secret lair of orcs, and it did come out, and it wasn't unfortunately a full deck, but there was some really cool reskins in there because those were reskins as well, and
that's an upset for me.
Yeah,
the fact that they were reskinned, all the other cards obviously were new cards with unique designs.
Yep.
Whereas the Orc Secret Lair was a few cards and it was reskins, and that was a crushing disappointment. I didn't actually order that one as a result.
See, I did, and I was relatively happy with it. It had cards in there that I was probably going to use already. So I think by this point, I'll be honest with you, by this point, I'd started to figure out what my relationship with Universes Beyond was going to be, which is effectively, if I was interested in it, I was probably going to buy it. And if I weren't interested in it, it's fine.
Skippable.
Well, either skippable or I'll grab, if there's unique cards, I'll grab singles as and when I need them.
Buy singles.
Well, yeah, exactly. So the next big one so we've got one more to go before we start to get to the big ones. So the next one was Transformers. Now,
this was an interesting one because it was in part of a standard booster set, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this was in the Brothers Wars set and collector boosters, I believe, if I remember rightly.
Yes, you could get them in set boosters, and obviously you got a guaranteed Transformer card if you bought a bundle, I think, as well.
Yes, yeah, I think you're right. That's right. So this was an interesting.
This is Hasbro's own AP.
Yes,
notably.
Yeah. So I think this was their first one that they owned, but wasn't kind of isn't within the law. Like obviously, The Walking Dead. They don't own and isn't within the Magic the Gathering. The reason why I'm saying that is because of the next one we'll come to in a minute, but you guys will see it in a minute. But look, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't that interested in Transformers. I remember watching it as a kid and I enjoyed it, and I've watched most, if not all, of the latest films. The Michael Bay, but explosions and all that sort of stuff. Look, I'm just very meh to it, which is funny, but I've got a friend. This point will come back around again later, but I have actually got a friend that's very much into Transformers, particularly nostalgic old Transformer toys, and he's actually asked me in the past about these cards, which is weird because he's got, I'd say he's got no interest in Magic, but he doesn't. I know he definitely doesn't play. I know his kids play Pokemon. Well, collect a bit of Pokemon, but this was the first time I was asked, and this point will come back up later. We'll come back to this one later because I think there's a bigger one for this. But it's the first time I had someone outside of Magic ask me about a Magic product that was from outside of Magic. If that makes sense. We'll come on to that one a little bit later. But what did you think about the Transformers? Because there was some good cards in there. You know, the was it the Slicer deck or something like that? Like that's just problematic.
That's made an impact in CDH, hasn't it? That deck, because it's so fast.
It's extraordinarily aggressive. Yeah,
I didn't seek these out, but I actually found a home for the ones that I did open in boosters. Yeah. A lot of them are quite unique in how they play.
Yeah, Living Metal seems to be quite good fun. Yeah. It's a unique ability. It's effectively, I can't remember exactly how it's termed, but it's basically a little bit like a flip card, but you have to tick and you basically have an artifact on one side and you have a creature on the other side, basically, is what Living.
You normally have to pay some mana or, fulfill a criteria.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, fulfill a criteria, basically, of it. But, I mean, like I said, there's some unique cards. Some of the artwork was really cool. Again, it's that nostalgic sort of old cartoon sort of feel, which towards the end of this pod we'll come back to because this will lead in really quite nicely. But yeah, I thought for me this one was a little bit missable. But yeah, yourself, you feel the same?
Yeah, it was interesting, but yeah, I didn't really grow up watching the cartoon or anything, so all I know is that Michael Bay movies, and yeah, I wasn't really seeking out these cards, but yeah, I thought they were cool.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So we now start to get on to, in my opinion, one of the big first delves into, because the next one was the Dungeons and Dragons set. So
okay, yeah.
The thing I liked about this one is, sorry, I don't know if did you have a point? You was going to say something there.
Which set came first?
It's the so they had a secret lair, which was the Honor Among Thieves, which fell in with the film, didn't it?
Oh yeah,
that's what I meant. I didn't mean the set. I meant the secret lair. I probably said set, but I meant secret lair. So,
yeah, so
I didn't.
I love this movie.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute. So I didn't pick this up, but actually I regretted not picking this one up. And the reason why I regretted not picking this one up was after I watched the movie. So the secret lair was actually skinned. You had Hugh Grant and you had all the other characters, which I think was really kind of cool, actually. And hopefully I do a little bit more in the future, but we'll come back in one. But, I thought the cards were nice. It was nice to sort of see it. It's good to see. I mean, thing is, Dungeons and Dragons to me sits in the Magic the Gathering universe quite nicely anyway. I mean, you could argue they're
adjacent, isn't it? Yeah.
It's easy. The crossover is really easy. Do you know what I mean? We're not talking about, My Little Pony or anything like that. But
they even did, and I've actually picked up a couple of them, the Dungeons and Dragons Planeswalkers guides to... So there's one, there's a D&D book for like Strixhaven and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So it crosses back the other way as well. Right.
That's cool. See, I like that. Yeah. And I do like that. Yeah. And I like that they've done that within D&D as well. Because I've seen that as well. That was, it's nice and it's really interesting to have that. Also, the film is awesome. If you've not seen it, you really should go see it. I thought it was very, very good.
I saw something the other day about how faithful it is to the rules, and I think there's a fight like all of the cuts are like 6 seconds, which is what they say the average combat round should be.
Yeah.
And like in the fights, all the characters move in what would be their initiative order.
Yeah.
It's down to that level of detail. It's like I didn't obviously think about that when I was watching the movie. I saw that later. It was like, wow, I need to watch this again. And yeah, there's like no spoilers, but there's a big fight where the barbarian Michelle Rodriguez plays. She has a massive fight against all these soldiers, and she actually makes the amount of attacks that she would be able to make if she was actually playing D&D.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's just stuff like that is just so cool.
See, this is what happens. This is what happens when you put the right amount, the right design team with the right amount of resources in. You get a fantastic product or film, whatever you're selling. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But very good. Right, here we go, Dom. Here's the big one.
Yeah.
This one was the first set. The first set that was released within Universes Beyond. The all-faithful and incredible Lord of the Rings. Now, we've spoke extensively over this, but what were your thoughts leading up to it? And how did you feel about when you got your hands on it? Because obviously we saw a lot of this. We saw a lot of this previewed already and beforehand, but we managed to experience this. They were releasing this at the MagicCon, if I remember rightly, weren't they?
Yeah, it was incredible to be there for the release. They had like all the sets set up and things like that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
This product, I'd go so far as to say it's probably one of my favourite sets in the last decade. It's just, they did such a great job of design and tying in the characters.
Yeah.
And you know, you had the excitement as well. Obviously, it's a little bit of finding the One Ring as well.
Yep.
And I'd consider that a tie into that universe. You know, you're searching for the One Ring. That's the whole point of the books and movies, right?
So for anyone that has been under the stone for the last few years, what they done was they released a serialized 1-of-1 ring, which had a unique artwork. They only printed one, and they dropped it into a random. Do you even know what pack it was open? I presume it was a collector.
I don't know what pack it came from.
Because I know that the chances were significantly higher to get it in a collector, but I think, am I right in saying it was also available in another pack? No, it must have been just collectors. I must have got that wrong.
No, you could open it in regular booster.
Could you? I thought it was. Yeah. There was a little part of me that thought it was set or collector, but not draft. Maybe you're right. I wonder if we know what it opened, what it come out of. Anyway, so it was opened by a Canadian, if I remember rightly. And the thing that I really like is, and this is nothing against any of the names I'm about to mention, but it wasn't opened by a Channel Fireball or a TCG Player or anything like that, or any of the really big companies. It was just opened by a guy ripping packs, just like we all do. I love that story, you know, and, you know, obviously it's very well documented. It was then sold to Post Malone, a very big international artist, and also Magic lover as well, and plays it. And obviously they made a big thing about that, and I just love the whole story behind it. I know it's really easy to get sniffy about it, be like, oh, it's the One Ring, and, you know, or it's all. I think they've done it really, really nicely. I love that it just went to a rando, just like you and I.
Yeah.
And I love that it kind of come from nowhere. Our first knowings that it'd been found was that picture from PSA, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then I think
it was a bit unfortunate.
It turned out that the guy had sent like a shaky video to the professor saying, is this real or something? The professor didn't believe it. And
I didn't know that.
And then it turned out that was genuine. But obviously, as you're saying, it's like, yeah, well, I've seen, you know, a lot of people that made, you know, fake, not fakes, but, you know, proxy saying, haha, look, I opened a One Ring, you know.
I really like that, actually. Like, yeah, they're really cool.
And there was a lot of speculation that it was going to be, you know, given out or something to avoid it ending up stuck in a warehouse for 20 years, which it turns out it could have been, but, you know, who knows? This might have been hand delivered by a Wizards employee. The box it came in.
The problem is like in all suits.
Although I think if that was the case, it wouldn't have been open till they finished their print run, right? Because it was open pretty early, I would say.
Yeah, I would argue that as well. Actually, it was a lot earlier than I thought. So actually, weirdly enough, about a week or two before that, I was having a discussion with someone, and we were talking about this, and I cynically sort of said, it wouldn't surprise me if it's opened maybe just after the Christmas release.
Oh right, yeah.
But it wasn't, and actually, I'm glad it wasn't as well, because to me, they've done it the right way, which is, look, I know we always talk, well, not we, but I know the internet always talks about the bad sides of things, but I think it's just important to talk about the good things, and this was a good thing. I think they've done it really, really well. But back to the set. I mean, I'm with you. I think that I actually think this was really, really good. It was really well done. The characters were done really nicely. I know there was a massive hoo-ha about printing Aragorn as a black character instead of the white that we know from the films, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't really make a difference.
Not really. No. The problem is people then just get bogged down in semantics of an argument. It's like, come on, guys, does it really matter? And also, it's an awesome card as well. So they're really good. They're good commanders.
Yeah, all the cards are really well designed.
Yeah.
They did produce 4 commander decks with this release as well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They were pretty good as well.
Yeah, I ended up getting the Hobbit one. I did sort of tear it apart.
That was really...
Yeah, I did end up tearing it apart and basically making a tree beard out of it, which one of my favorite decks at the minute.
Yeah,
I love that deck. And yes, before you get to it, yes, you did help me upgrade it to make it the deck it is now. Yeah. I put some more lands in it.
It was,
yeah, it was woefully underlanded. I think it might have been 31 lands. I think the initial build was. It was tight, and it still is tight, but it's a great...
You're in green, but you still need lands to be able to cast your ramp spells, right?
Yeah, I know. All right, okay. Every time we're going to build a deck now, it's like, how many lands? Like, Dom, you don't need to know this.
It's not like Azorius where you only need 2 mana to ruin someone's day. In green, you need a few more lands.
See, that's where you're wrong, because actually, particularly in Commander, you probably want 6-ups because you can ruin each player's day.
That also true. Yeah.
But no, so look, Lord of the Rings, there's so much good to talk about. It's also was modern legal. So this, I think it's important to know, actually, this was not a standard legal set. This was a modern legal set. So straight to modern? Yeah, straight to modern is what that was.
Straight to modern, yeah.
And
similar to the Horizon sets.
Yeah, exactly. Which is interesting because we've not had that outside of your Modern Horizons, really, have we? So I thought it was interesting way that they done that. And look, there was some really, really good cards. Obviously, the One Ring is rampant in a lot of pretty much any format it's in legal at the minute, modern particularly, and is a fine. I think we can all agree is a fine card. And
I think because it's colorless, I don't think you would be sad about drawing it in literally any deck. So that realistically, the effect that it gives is so good.
I had a conversation with so when I was rebuilding my latest iteration of my Urza deck, I was talking to Pete in the shop about this actually, and I sort of said to him, like, because he's like, I don't think this is the card to put in there. It was a real tight window, but what I wanted is I wanted that protection, and more importantly, I wanted the card draw as well. And we discussed it, and he made some really good points. Pete at London Games, so he's an extraordinary. He's far more knowledgeable than I have, and he's a very good player, very good deck builder. It's one of those things where he says you generally take it as gospel. I know he's got, like all of us, we've got an opinion, but his opinion was that it probably wasn't quite quick enough. But I tell you what, I put it in that deck, and the War Room EDH CDH game that we had, that card saved me. It saved me, and it drew me cards to win. It was fantastic. It was
the fact that it gives you protection means it's almost an extra free turn, right?
Yeah,
because your opponents can't impact what you're doing. So if you're setting up for a win with a deck like Urza,
exactly, artifacts
is normally a combo win of some kind. Then it gives you a full turn cycle to do whatever you want.
So also with it being an artifact and Urza being an artifact deck as well, there was plenty of like untapped stuff as well. So
easy to tutor for in blue.
Yeah, and I can't remember how I played it, but I have played it before. I don't know if it was with that game but I've played it with a Displacer Kitten as well, and it's just like, great, I'm gonna flicker my One Ring. Thank you very much. Pretty sure that's what I was doing.
No protection, but it does reset the counters.
Tap it, draw it again.
Yeah.
You just refuel yourself. I mean, obviously, you draw a land and you've got you know, if you haven't got cards in hand to play, you can't continue to do that. But it's fuel in the fire. It's a great card. I think there's no denying that. There's some other great cards in there as well. I mean, Orcish Bowmaster as well. Black card. I can't remember its mana. I think it's 2 and a black, and you flash in. That's a great card. That is a really good card. And
deliberately a generic name, do you think? So it's C-Play in C-Play?
Possibly.
It's reprintable?
Yeah.
A lot of these mentioned before, they probably won't ever see a Magic Skin version, or if it is, it'll be a ways off. Or it'll have a different name. But they might not have the license to do that, you see. Because a lot of these sets, one thing that we haven't mentioned is that a lot of these sets aren't making it into Magic the Gathering Online.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Is another point. So they just recently released the 40k decks for a limited time onto Magic the Gathering Online.
Yep.
So obviously there's a licensing issue there, but obviously they've managed to work it out for the 40k decks, so I'm happy about that.
To anyone on the to anyone that's watching this on YouTube or can hear, I do apologise. My dog that's with me was just having a roll and just Jody making noise. Bless his little heart. Look, I feel like we could just talk a whole pod about the Lord of the Rings set, but I do want to move on. But I feel like the last thing I kind of just want to sort of say about this is just leads back to what I was saying about Transformers. Again, I had people, friends of mine that are not in the Magic Gathering community, come up and say to me, "Oh, I heard about this One Ring and the Lord of the Rings set." I even had one of my best friends was like, I'd quite like to learn the game, and also I'd like to collect these because I'm such a big fan of Magic the Gathering. Sorry, not Magic, sorry, of Lord of the Rings, sorry.
They are now a huge fan of Magic the Gathering.
Exactly. So I think this is now, for me, this was the start of the beginning of the power of the universes beyond. And this is now going to become the model. We'll talk about this towards the end because there is a bit of intellectual property that is coming in the future that I think is going to be massive. And I would argue is probably bigger than Lord of the Rings, will drag more people in from Lord of the Rings, but we'll come to that one in a minute. So next on my list, we've got Creep Show, which we had a little chat about off mic. I honestly don't remember this at all, if I'm honest with you.
This was part of I think it was a Halloween super drop.
Yeah.
Or
that's it was, yeah.
I picked up like there's a Liliana Secret Lair that I picked up alongside it. And it was like Creep Show skinned cards, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's
alternate frames.
It's loosely themed around American horror comedy anthology film is what it's basically based off. So I mean, in terms of the artwork was absolutely fantastic, but I actually missed this one. I don't remember it at all. So it must have been, there was a transition period when I wasn't quite buying as many Secret Lairs, and I think this one slipped through the fingers a little bit, but let's just move on to the next one, because the next one's quite a big one as well. So Doctor Who is the next big one that we've got. Yeah. So this also, like the 40k and like the Lord of the Rings set, had Commander Precons. Notably the timey-wimey, really complicated to play. To this day, I always think, I'll give it another shot, and I'm always like, what am I doing with this deck? Like, there's
a lot of it's all based around like suspend and time counters and that kind of thing.
Exactly,
so
and
a lot of really on theme counters. Yeah,
really on theme. Actually, you brought up a really nice point. I don't know if you meant to do this or not. This is the first one where they had introduced Planes Chase cards into these universes beyond, and actually they worked really, really nicely. There's some really good Planes Chase. For anyone that doesn't know, Planes Chase cards, they are like a game within Magic the Gathering. So ideally, you could do it with 4 players. I actually personally find it works really nicely with 3 players. It almost gives you that 4th player. But you have a card, a central plane that you are on. You can roll a dice for extra goodies or risk or reward, basically.
Yeah, so you get a die with these decks, and there's a Planes Chase symbol, so it's the magic symbol, the 5-pronged, 6.
Yep.
And if you roll that, you move to the next plane, so you flip another card and travel to that plane, obviously, let's say if you're planeswalking. And if you roll the other symbols, chaos, and something happens.
Some of them are wild, like absolutely wild.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. And some of the planes just put everyone in a headlock, and you're like, Oh, lovely.
It definitely fit with the Doctor Who kind of format, where obviously
100%.
traveling to different worlds and times.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Perfect.
Yep,
Perfect
100%. It worked really nicely. I know this one was a pet project of Gavin Verhey's as well. He's very much into his Doctor Who, and again, you can see the love and attention into this. You know, it's well designed.
Yeah.
I did used to watch a little bit of Who when I was younger, but again, this I haven't watched it in years and years. But what I would say is actually, after playing some of these cards and learning about them, it made me interested in going back to watch the series. So it's obviously, it's obviously doing what it needs to do, because fundamentally, the Universes Beyond are a way of bringing intellectual property into Magic the Gathering. So it's to get people from outside of Magic interested in Magic, and potentially people that are interested in Magic into these outside intellectual properties. So it's obviously working. I mean, it's a prime example about it.
Yeah, we've touched on it before in previous roles I've mentioned, where I can show my mum a picture of a Dalek, she'll know what it is and be interested in it, even though it's a Magic card, which you couldn't care less about otherwise.
But she'll know a Dalek, and that will be the interest. That'll be the hook that sort of gets you interested, really. Anything in particular you want to talk about the Doctor Who?
There was a secret lair with this as well, wasn't there, for the other Doctors? But this all tied in. Yeah. This all tied in with the 60th anniversary, I think, of Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's right.
Which it seems like, obviously, Wizards of forward planning, they've actually come up with these agreements, to time with these events based around that IP as well.
Well, we found that with Dungeons and Dragons as well. So obviously they are thinking about these things ahead, and which is good. And from a marketing perspective, it makes perfect sense. 100% understand that. I mean, I think that was pretty good. The next couple, I'm just aware of the time, so I want to just try and glide through some of these ones. Evil Dead, again, this is one that wasn't really for me. Wasn't really my cup of tea.
I love the movies. I did pick this one up, but the cards are just still sat on my desk at the moment. I need to put them in the deck. But
that's sometimes the problem.
These were reskins.
Yeah. So that's right. They'd gone back to these sort of reskin sort of scenarios. They then had The Princess Bride. Again, some of the artwork and the theming behind it was really, really cool. It just wasn't for me. I felt like this one crept up on me a little bit, and by the time I got around to it, I was a bit like, do I really need this? Do I? And ultimately didn't really. Did you get the Princess Bride one?
I did, yeah. I love that movie. I've probably watched it 20 times.
Nice. Yeah. It's a great film.
At least.
It's a great film. Yeah, I mean, fantastic.
I think, again, it's to see these characters just on a playable Magic card.
Yeah.
Exactly. These are reskins, but the cards that they're on are pretty good.
Yeah. So the next one's a relatively big one as well. So this would be Jurassic Park / Jurassic World. Again, these were released into Lost Caverns of Ixalan. They also had their own Commander Precon. No, they did not. So no, they didn't. Sorry, I'm wrong in that. But they did have these in the so these cards were basically released in collector boosters and set boosters. Yeah, set boosters. And
again, you got a guaranteed one in the bundles. Which seems to be how they've continued to do it, and like the Transformers ones, basically.
Again, so for me, Jurassic Park, there's a lot of nostalgia attached to Jurassic Park for me. I remember watching this as a kid, the first film. And I think anyone of an age that remembers watching Jurassic Park, particularly if it was over the Christmas, because back in the day they would release a film and it would take a year before it would be released on terrestrial TV. So normally that type of size film as well would be a Christmas one. But I remember watching this in the cinema as a kid, and I think there's a lot of great cards in this. Don't Move, which is basically a little bit of a settle the wreckage type card. I can't remember exact stats, but basically it's a source. You play at sorcery speed. I think it's 2 white and 3 generic, and basically you destroy all tap creatures. Which is really nice. I think the whole idea of it is particularly when you're in a combat-centric game, you will untap your creatures. You're basically going to be casting that first main phase. And the problem is at that point is until your next turn, if a creature is tapped, it destroys it. So you can't just then go swinging, which is good because then it just keeps it in check. But I tell you what, if you've got a lot of vigilance, you can get around that. Which there's quite a few angels as well that will have vigilance, and lots of creatures with vigilance. So if you build around that really nicely, or if you're to be quite honest, it's in my Obvious Prop deck because it's a control deck. And quite commonly, I'm not going to combat, so I'm quite happy to play that. I'm going to pass the turn. So
it definitely discourages attacking.
It does very much so. But actually, you've got an interesting story about this one with your brother, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. So when these cards were first previewed, I just pinged them over to my brother because obviously we watched all of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies.
Mm-hmm.
Make a point of like going and meeting up when a new one comes out and watching it together in the cinema. And so I sent them to him. He's like, okay, I need to learn how to play Magic. Again,
I look. The reason why I love this story is I love it when new people want to get into the game that we both love. But I think this is another piece of the puzzle. It's just showing that these crossover intellectual properties is working. Whether you want to be cynical and be like, oh, I just want to make more money out of it. But I think more importantly, it's getting people interested in it. Because if people are interested in it, they'll come back. And then they may slide into traditional sets. And, oh, what's this draft? And, oh, what's this pre-release event? And then you've got someone that's playing the game, And actually, that's what it's all about. It's getting more people into community. For me, it's getting more people into community other than the cynical view of, oh, I'm just selling products. Like, however you want to look at it, really. But
I think obviously the prime mover is to make profits, but if you can increase your player base, that's probably...
those two things surely go hand in hand. Surely,
exactly. Yeah. If a few veterans don't buy cards anymore, it doesn't matter because you've got a million new people who do. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
and you only hear the vocal minority. It's like anything.
You make a really, really good point, and unfortunately, there is a bit of old man shouting at clouds when it comes to this. These old Magic players. I know it's not that I disagree with them, but that, like you said, they're the most vocal, they're the most heard, but they are still a minority to a certain degree. But yeah, I was a big fan of this. These ones. These were really, really good, and they did do a secret lair as well, which was quite nice. Most notably was the Dr. Ian Malcolm one, which was just hilarious. I mean, they were fantastic. I think they were really on theme, and I love how they just made. Well, I suppose he was this that sort of paleontology sex object. Maybe I think he was a paleontologist, if I remember rightly.
No. He's a chaotician.
That's it. That's right. Yeah, that's right. He's a chaos theory, wasn't it? That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, gosh, that just slipped from my mind. That did. But I thought that was really cool and really unique. And we actually haven't really seen a secret lair directed onto a certain character like that, or not that I'm aware of, until we come to the next one. Because the next one on my list, which I know you were a big fan of, and I'm gutted I didn't get, was the Tomb Raider one.
Oh, yes. I loved this secret lair. So this was... They kind of combined the two styles. So you had Lara Croft as a unique card.
Yep.
And then around her, you had like artifacts and places from her adventures, which were reskins of existing cards.
Yep.
So it's like a combination of what they've done before.
Yeah. Best of both worlds, really.
Worked really well. There was some nice reskin cards that people would want in there, and Lara Croft is unique. I use her as a commander.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I built this deck. I really enjoy it. It definitely needs some tweaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's
not super overpowered either. It's like there's hoops to jump through because she has to attack, and you have to have a legendary artifacts in your graveyard to exile and stuff like that. So there's some hoops to. It's like a little mini game to get you to do it. What it wants to do.
It's not like it's
the card was great.
Yeah, I really like it actually, and I've played against once or twice, and I've seen you on some streams and whatnot, and it's always enjoyable to watch as well. The thing that I really like about it as well is it's that type of classic where you're having to do stuff to get value, but you're not really being the problem. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh, actually, that is a problem. And then you're in a winning position. I'm growing very fond of commanders like that of late, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to spin through the one we've just had recently, I suppose, is technically had Cluedo, but put that to one side. Fallout is the latest one we've just had released. And
baby.
So we've spoke about this previously. I think we spoke about this with Adam as well. I wasn't really massive on this. I'm well aware of what Fallout is. I am well aware of the game. Wobbly head incoming for anyone that's listened to the pod and not watching. There was a wobbly head character there. But actually, the more I've played with these cards, so I picked up the dog meat deck, and I really enjoy it. I think it's really cool. Another classic example about how, yes, we can grumble at the land base of the Commander Precons, but they are pretty well. Although the only one thing, I am going to change this deck, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to lean into artifacts or auras. Probably auras, because I've been thinking about doing auras. But I want to do one or the other, because to me it feels like it's split between the two, whereas I want to lean into one.
That's fair enough.
But you've been really enjoying these, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Fallout. I thought all the decks have been brilliant.
Yeah.
And because again, it appeals to me because it's an IP I'm invested in.
Yep.
It's perfect for me because I love Magic, and so I love playing with these cards. It's really good, and I am really looking forward to the Amazon series coming out.
Yeah,
beginning of April.
Yeah, should be good.
And the secret lairs. They've said are going to be alongside this. They've shown one of them at MagicCon Chicago, but I think there's more that we haven't seen yet. So that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember if there's a rumor there's going to be a couple. Am I right in thinking that?
I think they said there was going to be 3, and we've only seen one of them.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's right.
Yeah, but that'll be interesting.
It's funny though, because playing with that deck and playing with others with the deck, I tell you what, actually, just after I got the precon actually and played with it, I had a spare bit of time in that evening, so it was on our Commander Sundays, and I actually was watching some YouTubers playing Fallout because I was interested. Do you see what I mean? So again, that intellectual property, it just pulls you into it. Whether it will get me playing the game, I probably not, but it got me interested and it got me watching it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't dislike it, like I've sort of said, but it's just very interesting. I'm aware of the time, so I don't want to. I don't want to feel like we're flying through these things too quickly, but I'm just trying to keep things moving along. So the next 3 that I'm going to mention, particularly the last one, we'll spend a bit of time talking about the last one, but we've got some more Universes Beyond up and coming. So the next one is the Assassin's Creed, which should be tail end of this year, I believe, if I remember rightly. Or was it mid?
It's coming up soon, pretty soon. Third quarter this year, I think. Is
it before or after Amsterdam?
Let's have a look.
While you're looking at that, so again, Assassin's Creed is another IP that another game that I haven't really played. Me and Dom were actually talking about this before we started videoing. So to me, this type of game, for me, I played a series called Thief. So Thief 1, 2, and 3, which is very, very similar, just a lot older version. So I felt like I got my kicks out of that type of gameplay with that. So I'm interested to see what they do with it. I'm interested to see the cards. I'm also interested in the universe a little bit. Am I going to go full bore into this like I did do Lord of the Rings? Probably not, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
So this is released actually sooner than you might think. It's July the 5th.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just after Amsterdam.
Yeah. So, and also this one's interesting because they are booster packs, but they are these new Beyond boosters.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so for those that remember the Aftermath set, you had these kind of 5-card boosters that weren't very well received. Now they've made these into a 7-card booster, but I think obviously this is kind of a holdover. This product was probably already made one
before they
can kind of reverse course on it.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see. Notably, these cards go straight to Modern.
Yeah, that's right.
So there might be some new to Modern reprints in there.
Yep.
Looks like it's getting some good reprints from the previews we've seen so far. But yeah, because there's only a few cards in the boosters, there's no commons in the boosters.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And you get a few uncommons, and then you've got up to effectively 3 rares or mythics.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of wildcard slots. And they've also brought in the historical figures that you can get in here. So you've got like Cleopatra, Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I had on I can't remember where it was now. I think it was on another podcast. They were talking about Leonardo da Vinci. There was a little bit of not concern. I suppose it was just a curiosity about bringing real life people in, but I think we're still in the same ilk of Universes Beyond, if I'm honest with you.
If you can have Ian Malcolm on a card, then
exactly
Leonardo da Vinci's not too much of a stretch.
I don't think so. No. And
there's some old Magic cards that picture Einstein, right, and things like that.
Yeah, very true.
I used to have Shakespearean quotes on Magic cards.
Do you know what would be really cool? Actually, you could have it like even if they had him as a reskin of like as a Lord High Artifacer. I mean, that just makes sense to a certain degree, doesn't it? That'd be really cool. So again, I don't want to feel like I'm brushing over him, but we're just going to get on to the next one. So there's also next year we've got the Final Fantasy Universes Beyond coming out as well. Now that one's going to be a bit bigger, isn't it? I think they're looking
to be a full set.
Yeah, that's right. Are they talking about multiple sets? I can't quite remember with this one.
I think they'll almost certainly do Commander Precons alongside it, and it will be a full set. I don't know if there's going to be multiples. What they have said is that they will be doing 2 Universe Beyond sets per year going forward. But yeah, Final Fantasy is a huge one. Yeah. The games span generations up to what? Just releasing the Final Fantasy VII kind of remake at the moment, which is obviously hugely popular.
I couldn't even tell you when Final Fantasy released, but I remember that from my childhood. I could be wrong. I want to say I played a bit of. Maybe it was 7 I played. I played quite an early-ish one. But again, I'll be honest with you. So this is another one that I'm not terribly interested in terms of the intellectual property, but I am interested in the artwork because I think that's one thing that I'm a massive fan of sort of like Japanese art, 100%. And I know this isn't going to be Japanese art, but it is going to be like Japanese anime esque, I suppose. I don't really know the type of theme you would call it.
I'll be surprised. Yeah, so I would be surprised if there isn't some kind of anime showcase versions of a lot of these.
Yeah, cards. I could definitely see that. That'll be like the collector's stuff. Basically, is what I could see with that. But again, I'm looking forward to it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like every time I've sort of said, well, yeah, but it's like I sort of said, like I weren't. I was looking forward to Fallout, but I weren't like chomping at the bit. But I've played with it, and I'm now a lot more happy with it and a lot more interactive with it. So I suspect with all of these things, I'll probably be exactly the same. But let's okay. So we're going to talk about the last one here, and this was a big one, and it will come all full circle to everything we've been talking about. So I suspect this will be tail end of 2025. They have announced that they will be doing a Universes Beyond Marvel. Now, it's important to note that this is Marvel Comics, not Marvel Studios, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is the characters from the comic books and presumably the cartoon, anything that outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Exactly.
Basically.
Now, personally, I can't wait for this. Now, if they'd said it was Marvel Studios, honestly, I would be a little less interested. And the reason why, and it's going to come full circle background, I remember a lot of these comics as a kid. One of my cousin was a collector. What do you call it? The comic collector had a massive collection, and a lot of them were from Marvel. He had lots of DC as well, but Marvel was the main thing. So he had all sorts of stuff. And that artwork to me is iconic. And we've not seen anything yet. But if they basically do, even if the old arts are going to be comic strip versions of it, I'm all over this. Like, I am all in on this because I love that style of art. It's nostalgic to me. The Marvel universe, whether you want to get grumbly at it or not, is incredibly large and incredibly interwoven into, even to, you got to bear in mind, this is probably, I could be wrong in saying this, but this is one of the first big franchises I can remember of that basically tries to portray itself as, well, we're just in New York defending you guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to make, like, they've just done it so well. Like, the films were a massive hit. All the series they've done ever since then, they've all been incredibly massive hits. Some of the recent stuff, not quite as much as in my opinion, but it's just my personal opinion. But they're going to be doing comic strip versions of this, and I am going to be all for this. I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential. I mean, I can't wait to see what showcase
Me too.
They've come up with for this.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a few showcases where we've been a bit, hot and cold on. I just think, if you've got comic book cover versions of cards, be amazing. I think this is going to be phenomenal. Like, I hope I'm not let down, but I think I can even picture it in my head. I don't know what the border's going to be, but I can see the artwork, and I think it's just going to be phenomenal. I think they'll do a new twist on the original comic art. That's what I think they'll do, and I think it's going to be great. Whether that is the old art or the standard art, like, I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I'm really excited about it. Have you got a character in particular in the MC universe you're looking forward to? Wow, what a question.
Once in a blue moon, I come up with good questions.
I can see Iron Man being something to do with equipment, so let's go with that.
That's what I was going to say. So, in truth, I think pretty much, you could argue, sort of say pretty much any of the Avengers. I mean, they will definitely lean into that 100%. Thor will be interesting. I actually wonder whether they may mix things up and they'll do different art styles for different, like Thor, Iron Man, Hulk. I wonder if they'll mix up a little bit. I don't think they will, but I think that'd be a really interesting concept because Thor is very different film to Iron Man, and Iron Man's different to the Hulks. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder. I think it's. I think it's going to be like Avengers. Basically, is what I think it's going to be, but like comic strip version of Avengers. So I think I'll cross over a lot of them, but.
I think, whilst the films are totally different, obviously in the comics they all sit together quite a lot. I think a little more easily.
Yeah.
The medium lends itself a bit better to doing fantastical things, right? You don't have to rely on CGI. You just draw what you want to depict. Yeah. So from that, I can see them doing a secret lair of Thor, where all the cards have got like a lightning bolt frame or something like that.
Yeah, so maybe Nordic looking or something like that. You could definitely see that.
Yeah, or exactly. Norse runes, all that kind of stuff.
The thing is that there's so much. I mean, this is the thing. So, Lord of the Rings is a massive well to dip into. Marvel, it's even bigger. I arguably think this is going to be the biggest IP they've ever dealt with. It could even be the biggest they've ever dealt with. I'm looking forward to see what they do with it. I'll be really interested to see what they go with. I hope they do. I hope they lean into X-Men a little bit. I was a big fan of X-Men, particularly the old school comics. I really enjoyed the cartoons as well. I mean, I've enjoyed the films. I've enjoyed a lot of the X-Men stuff, and to be honest, but that'd be good. Fantastic Four, all those sort of stuff. Like, it'd be really interesting to see what ilk and area they lean into, or whether they'll just go with the classics. Your Spider-Man, your Iron Man, your Hulk, your Thor, all that sort of stuff. Basically, your Avengers-esque type stuff, really.
I think we'll end up with multiple sets of this. They might choose to focus on focus on a team or set of heroes in each set, maybe, or just lean into them with the precons.
Do you know what I think? I'm gonna make a bit of a call here. Do you know what I think would be really cool? And I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna do like a goodies versus baddies.
Okay, so heroes versus villains or rogues gallery,
and I think that's going to be really cool.
I think it'd be cool. So say you've got a Spider-Man precon that of his like Rogues Gallery cards within there as well.
Yeah.
So all of his villains, you could group them together.
Yeah,
that would be cool. I mean, the good thing about Marvel is that whilst the heroes are iconic, I think some of the villains just stand on their own.
100%. Yeah, I was literally about to say that. I 100% agree with you. You know, some of those villains are as iconic, if not more iconic, than some of the superheroes.
I think the comics do a much better. The problem with the movies is, or a lot of the movies is, they killed off the villains when they didn't have to. With the comics, you see the villains recurring. You know, they go to prison, they break out, all this kind of stuff. They keep their villains around. You know, it's much more heroic to capture the person and put them in jail than it is to just off them.
Of course. No,
at that point, you might as well be the villain if you just go around murdering.
Yeah, no,
people.
I get it. You know, whereas like the comics, they keep putting the bucket down in the well to continue to go back for it. Whereas in the films, it feels like they cut the rope and off the bucket goes. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get that 100%. Like, I agree with you, but be interesting to see what they do. I am really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be very good. So, okay, I'm gonna throw a big one at you then. Universes Beyond. If you could pick a Universes Beyond you'd want to see, try not to think too much about the contractual side of things. What would you want?
So, someone tweeted this out the other day, and I mentioned on the previous pod, I'd really like a Mad Max one. I think they could tie it into the upcoming movie. You got Furiosa, so you could have some cool vehicles in it. Characters are, really cool as well. And I love that kind of post-apocalyptic style.
That's almost a little bit Fallout-esque, isn't it? I know they're two separate things.
In some regards, yeah. It's post-nuclear war, so it's a similar kind of,
Yeah, that'd be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it? That'd be really, really cool.
Other than that, I think you'd have to throw it back to like childhood cartoons and stuff. There's back in the the 80s when I was growing up.
Old. Sorry, I was born in that time as well. So
yeah, they used to always make these TV shows to tie into toy releases to sell the toys, right?
Yeah, they did.
And there's an old show called Dino Riders.
Oh my!
I don't know if you ever saw.
Oh my god, the nostalgia wave has just hit me. Yeah, I love that.
I would love something like that as well.
Wow, Dom, that's just slapped me across the face. That is such a nostalgia. My God, my childhood is just coming back to me. Dino Riders was amazing. Oh my God. Wow, I'm breathless.
So there you go. That's my two picks. What about yourself? Who you got?
I'm going to go a little controversial. Actually, I'm going to say two controversial ones because they're big IPs.
Okay.
I would be surprised if we ever got these. And I'm going to go a little off. There is a bit of nostalgia, but I just think in terms of intellectual properties that will drag people in, I think the two stars, Star Trek, Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I think from my perspective, I enjoy both. I grew up watching all sorts of iterations of Star Trek from Star Trek to Next Generation. I've watched all of Voyager, a lot of Deep Space Nine, like a lot of the films, like all that sort of stuff.
With Star Trek, there's so much material there to dig into a lot of iconic characters.
You could just do Next Generation. You could just do Voyager. You could just do Deep Space Nine. There is just so much. The well is deep and big, almost arguably as big as, maybe not quite as big as Marvel, actually. I think Marvel is humongous, but it is very much that. And I think Star Wars is another one as well. The thing is, the reason why I say this is that I am big fans of these intellectual properties. I think if I could sit here and think about it for a little longer, I could probably think of something that would be better suited for me personally. But the thing is, I think about these intellectual properties, and excuse the terminology here, but you're just dragging more nerds playing a nerdish game. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I'm a classic nerd, and I think, we all are to a certain degree. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But my only thing I would say is, as much as I'd like to see these, I sit here and I wonder whether I'm going to accrue my Rick Grimes to crew my Starship Enterprise, that space element,
I think
it's pushing the it's pushing it for me a little bit.
It's an inevitability at this point, right?
I think it's got.
If Marvel's as successful as you think it might be, there might not be a card you play outside of Marvel cards, right?
Could be. Could be. No.
How many sets are going to, you know?
Look, that's a hot take, but it could be. Look, I think the one thing we need to remember, you weren't there last night, but we was only talking to Matt Langdon yesterday, and he was sort of saying, look, it's dire. It's real dire. Magic is, they're struggling to sell it. I don't know if you know this, Langdon have just stopped doing singles now. They're not selling singles at all.
Yeah,
they've just sold them all
opening
off.
Packs. Yeah.
No, they've sold off all their singles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we literally saw them get picked up last night. All those boxes underneath the counter. They've all just been shipped off to I think it's We Buy Any Card or something like that, which I think is a real shame. But I get it. I understand it. It's a decreasing value of piles of cardboard, basically, isn't it? Most of it.
Holding singles is because you've got boxes and boxes of thousands upon thousands of cards that, on the off chance that someone might come in and buy one or two, right?
The example we were giving yesterday, and I can't remember the exact figures, but one of the guys that works in the shop basically spent a couple of hours pulling out cards, and the value of it basically is he effectively earned the shop £2.50 an hour, and you kind of sit there and you think, you can't run any business like that. I know it's easy to get sniffy at large businesses, but these are not them. These are the backbone of our communities, and I think it's a real shame. Personally, I was a bit shocked, and I'm a little bit worried about this because where does it stop? It starts with singles. At what point? Is there then is this something? It'd be really interesting. I mean, I'd love to. We've already spoke about this, but I'd love to get Matt on at some point and have this argue the side of the LGS as well. But is this a point? Are we now starting to see this decline, and what's causing it? Is it because we are flooded by products? Is it because it's too expensive? Like, there's so many questions. I mean, involved just around that. But I mean,
say if there's 5 versions of a card, the amount of time it takes to catalog and list those up, it's probably not worth your
time. No. Yeah. Well, this is the problem. Like, standard sets, as much as I loved Murder Carl of Mana, and I really enjoyed that, actually. I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting it. You're looking at cards, you're looking at chase cards that are £5-6. Standard sets, no one's buying it because it's just not worth it. And
so you're saying Universes Beyond is the saviour of Magic?
That's not what I'm saying. No, no. If I'm honest with you, I think the whole position makes it vulnerable. The Universes, I know the comment you made was tongue in cheek, but do you know what? That could end up being the thing that keeps it going. It's not personally what I'd want to see, but
I think obviously Wizards released their quarterly reports and things, and obviously the licenses for these products cost a lot. Yeah, millions and millions of dollars. I think obviously the potential is there to make a lot of money, but it seems like the licenses are actually cutting away a lot of their potential profits.
Well, I think we have to be a bit careful here as well. So. And I think Marvel, as much as I'm looking forward to it, and as much as I think it will do everything we've discussed in this podcast, I think it will tick a lot of boxes for current Magic players. I think it will tick a lot of boxes for people that are not in Magic the Gathering that will get them interested and potentially drag them in. I think there'll be the collector side of things. I think there'll be just a general play. I think it's going to tick a lot of boxes. But I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be paying the bill for that intellectual property. And if they don't sell enough of this product, this could be, if this flops, I don't think it will. Honestly, I don't think it will. But if it flopped, this could be the thing that puts Magic in a very vulnerable position. And we've already spoke in previous times, and we've already discussed. They're laying off staffs at WotC and things like that. And we say Wizards of the Coast that make these decisions. It's not. It's Hasbro, let's be honest. But, there is a confliction here between the corporate and the company that owns and prints and designs the cards we love. And there is, in my mind, there's a separation, and I think this could...
The line is blurred, I think. I think they've been part of Hasbro for so long now, obviously, that line is blurred.
The problem is that it is the only part of Hasbro that makes money, and because of that, it's always going to be the cow that's milked, isn't it? Unfortunately, and I just hope it doesn't. This is not a negativity point. I hope they have the foresight to try and encourage and grow the game more so than milk it for everything it's worth. Yeah. And I know there will be people out there. Feel free to get in contact with us on our socials and make comments and see what you guys think. But I hope it doesn't bring it to a point. But I can't help but want to fall on the WotC side of this and feel like there are people out there that want to protect and look after this game, and I just can't see them wanting to destroy what is their most profitable asset. And I hope they don't make a mistake by getting an intellectual property. I could see Star Wars being a bit problematic because I reckon that's going to cost a lot of money.
I'm not even sure they could get that.
I don't even think they can, to be honest. Yeah. I think there's a lot of issues, like I said, with both of them. I think that crosses boundaries. You've got to remember the latest in Unfinity sets, we are talking about space sets. They're silver bordered cards, so technically to one side. But even that starts to have some problems within the Magic universe. But
we are getting an actual space set as well, aren't we, in the universe? So
we are. We'll see what happens with it. Anyway, I feel like that's a really good place to draw a line underneath this pod. I think there's been a lot to talk about, and I think there could be a lot more to talk about. But all in all, I'll be interested to see what happens with the game we love moving forward. And you know what? Maybe this changes from Universes to Beyond to exactly the comment you made. It's hot call, but maybe this just becomes what Magic the Gathering is. It's a series of intellectual property sets that keeps it afloat. I hope not, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, look, guys, thank you for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching as always. We always appreciate ears, eyes on our pod. We'd love you to interact with it as much as possible. Subscribe to YouTube. I mean, that's my YouTube at the minute. I think we'll probably get our own stuff sorted at some point together. But subscribe, that sort of stuff. Comment, share it to other people as well. Any interaction's great. It's growing really, really nicely. We've just been talking about this. It's growing really, really nicely. We're speaking to friends that are really enjoying it. We hope you guys are enjoying as much as we are enjoying it. But really, most importantly as well, get in contact with us. What do you want us to talk about? Who do you want us to talk to? Our last pod with Adam. Again, Adam, thanks for coming on. We had a fantastic time. We could have spoke to him all night. Is there anyone that you guys want to see us speak to? Any creator, any artists? We've been looking into artists and cosplayers. We've got things hopefully planned for the future. But who do you guys want us to talk to? And what do you want us to talk about? We'd love to hear back, from what you want to say, and we'll go from there. Dom, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, I think you've covered it. Just drop us some comments.
Interaction's always good. Get that algorithm working. Right, guys, thanks again. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for watching. And we look forward to speaking to you again. Dom, my friend, I'll catch you next time.
Enjoy.